Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome to Let's Talk Theory, the show where we analyze some ideas and hypotheses around our favorite subjects. I'm your host, Zelrix, and today we're talking about the Mad Titan, the biggest bad of the biggest bad, the MCU's main antagonist, Thanos himself. I've read a lot of comic book in my life, and to be honest, Thanos was never one of my favorite characters. Sure, he's scary, powerful, but I just plain out didn't like him. Then the MCU came around and Thanos became a villain that I personally really enjoy. So this video is going to be about the MCU version of Thanos. Sorry fellow comic book nerds. Throughout his journey, many questions on Thanos have been answered, but there is one remaining. How is it possible that he knows Tony Stark? According to Joe Russo, Thanos recognized Stark from the original Battle of New York in the first Avengers movie. But is it really supposed to be enough, or is there a bigger, uglier truth? Let's dive in, but first remember to be aware of spoilers for the entire MCU until Avengers Endgame. So now that this is out of the way, let's talk theory. So here's my theory. Thanos is indeed a character that we know, someone who appeared in the first Iron Man movie, back when the MCU was barely created. Thanos is indeed Obadiah Stan. But he can't be Stan. Stan died at the end of the movie. Or did he? Yes, Stan totally did at the end of the first Iron Man, but what about all the other Obadiahs? Let me explain. Doctor Strange says that there are 14,605 different possible outcomes to their fight with Thanos. Then, in Endgame, the encounter with Hulk and the Ancient One confirms that there are indeed such things as a multiverse in the MCU. What if in one of those alternate realities, Obadiah Stan was an actual good guy who had to stop a power-hungry Iron Man from destroying New York with his newly found arc reactor? That would explain where Thanos knows Iron Man from, and also why he says that he truly has respect for him. Because this Tony is a version of his Tony that is a hero, a version of his friend that he wished his original Stark would have been. But then eventually Obadiah Stan would have found the stone and they would have turned him into Thanos. The outcome of these events were the destruction of Obadiah's universe, and then he became Thanos and he journeyed to the main MCU timeline. Earth 199,999 if you really want to be nerdy about it. Which I totally do. And to support this theory, I do have some arguments. First of all, it would close the loop. At the end of the first Captain America, Red Skull, Steve's nemesis, seems to die, but he indeed survives. The same thing happened to Loki. 2 times. Why are there only Iron Man villains who die? Then there is the fact that Thanos does look like a Hulk version of Obadiah. Maybe the stones from the original timeline from where Thanos comes from turned him into a gamma monster, just like the explosion turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk. The stones emit gamma radiation, and Hulk and Thanos are the only 2 characters we see using the gauntlet and surviving it. Hulk says that he had to snap at the end of Endgame because he would survive the snap because he has the power to take gamma radiations. Thanos doesn't say he has the power, but he definitely displays some of its effect. Maybe Thanos is just a human that was turned into a monster with the gamma radiation from the stones. Also, look at Tony's fight with Thanos in Infinity War. We can clearly see some similarities between this fight and Tony's and Obadiah's showdown at the end of the first Iron Man. The looks, the composition of the frames, etc. The scene with Thanos definitely evokes the scene with Stan. We also have the argument that Obadiah Stan is a beloved Iron Man villain, one of his most notorious foes, arguably his arch nemesis, second only to the Mandarin, and that he's one of the most interesting antagonists in the entire MCU. So killing him right off the bat is a very curious choice. Remember that when people were theorizing about Red Skull being alive, this was the main argument of the theory, and the theory was proven right by Infinity War. So maybe if it is right for Red Skull, it can also be right for Obadiah Stan. To recapitulate, Thanos was once Obadiah Stan, but after the destruction of his universe, the death of Tony Stark, his best friend, corrupted by the arc reactor, and him being driven mad by the stones, he became Thanos and attacked the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a lot of universes. Then the events of the MCU happened, and Thanos was turned to dust at the end of Endgame. That would explain how and why Thanos knows Iron Man and respects him, how he was driven mad by the stone, and his origin. How he was driven mad at the point of wiping out half of the universe, and most importantly, how he can resist the stones. I know this theory was shorter than usual, but I loved it too much not to share it. Tell me in the comment section, what are your theories on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and who is your favorite superhero of all time? Iron Man being mine, of course. Then subscribe and activate the bell to be notified when a new video comes up, follow me on Instagram to support my artwork, and go in the description to the link to my art pal to purchase some of my drawing and photographies. Share this video with all your Marvel Cinematic loving friends, and as always, thanks for watching.